The ideas of coolness and style have always been vital to Sonic games. Gameplay is not enough. There's a need for a certain level of style or spectacle or sauce to make a game be considered a great Sonic game. And everyone has their own idea of what the peak of style looks like. A lot of people would say adventure or unleashed or rush. If you could guess by my thumbnail, I think all these people are wrong. At first glance, Zero Gravity is nothing special. It had a poor reputation at launch, it has a poor reputation now, it's the worst selling Sonic game on both its consoles, but I've been playing Sonic for 20 years, I've had my autism diagnosis for 8 years, and in all that time and experience, I found nothing else quite like the sleek future that this game shows. And I've never heard anyone else talk about how cool Zero Gravity really is. Let's start with the title screen. It doesn't have a song, just this technological deep hum, getting ready for the future. But not just any future, 2000s retrofuturism. This is back when people actually looked forward to the coming times. I love this menu with the overuse of bright neon lights, the constant movement and animations in the background, the UI, the scenery, the items, the textures, everything is busy. This is not a clean, minimalist game. In fact, it might be the opposite. There's a special charm in this type of aesthetic when people thought that everything had to be super 3D and shiny to be pretty. The opening of this game is great. There's this buildup of tension that leads into the climax, showing the main gimmick of the game, the gravity power. Look at that, it's Knuckles using his glide. Feels like I haven't seen that in forever. The cutscene even leads directly into gameplay, which is a nice little touch, with Sonic falling from the sky to continue the chase through the city. Now look at Sonic himself. All of the characters have a more stylized look in the Riders games. A couple of years ago, we got a look at an unreleased concept for a Sonic skateboard game. You can see how awkward it looks. You can't just give a real-life object to Sonic and expect it to work. Be it with the 2D art of the original Riders games or the 3D models of Zero Gravity, you can see how these character proportions fit the setting so much more. There's a kind of sleekness that feels a lot more in place with the hoverboards. And speaking of the first Riders, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Isn't Zero Gravity considered just a lamer version of the previous game? I mean, the hand-draw art is gone, the anime opening is gone, the gameplay was simplified to appeal to the Nintendo Wii's motion controls and casual audience. A common thing at the time, unfortunately. And yeah, all of these things are true, but I'm here to argue that Zero Gravity more than makes up for these issues by going over a couple of things it does better than the original. These are the hoverboards, or extreme gear as the games call them. In the original Riders, the designs are a lot more simple and flat. Most of the design comes from the patterns rather than the shape of the board. And this is not a bad thing. For the aesthetic this game was going for, it's fine. But I really like how they changed up in the second game. These here really look like sci-fi technology. There's all these curves and blob shapes that remind you of 2000s futuristic trends of the time, which is what I plan on covering in this channel if you want to stick around. Some of the boards fully transform during gameplay, but you still have that consistent design philosophy tying everything up. Now, in-game cutscenes also had a step up. Actually, it's hard to think of any other game in this series where the characters have been so expressive. This is still the most solid blueprint for animating Sonic characters in 3D in my opinion, especially in how they play with facial expressions. This has never been the franchise's strong suit, with Sonic Adventure looking aged the day it came out, and modern games only now starting to play around with facial features again, so I think a lot could be learned from what they did here. Speaking of visuals, I love how consistent the game is with its color palettes, the blue and green hues everywhere and all that. It makes the colorful characters a lot more coherent together. The original Riders is bright and saturated in all directions. It feels like there's no point of focus for your eyes because everyone's colors are blown out. In Zero Gravity, everything just fits better. Characters are more affected by lighting. Whenever something is in focus, it's properly highlighted, while the background stays more subtle so as to not pull unnecessary attention. This is a game that looks great, and just like any proper Sonic game, it sounds great too. Rather than the usual tech vibes that most sci-fi games have, Zero Gravity goes for a more sophisticated approach, with the constant use of strings in almost every song. It really sells the aesthetic that the game was going for. I love how dynamic the soundtrack is, especially whenever you use the gravity powers. Everything slows down, the music pauses, until your character just boosts away with the camera struggling to catch up, and the music coming back at an even faster pace than before. It just never gets old. This is a custom sound effect, by the way. Every stage has their own version of this. Now hold on, I need to do a little round of gushing about the details in this game. I love how the exaggerated light trails from the cutscenes are replicated in-game, with these lights on the back of the boards, on the robot visors, and even in the scenery. I love how on this stage right here, and only on this stage, there's this electrical effect whenever you go on ramps. You jump up, and when you fall to the ground, there's this burst of energy that brightens your whole screen. I love the water-themed stages. There's all these transparent panels with water flowing inside, these huge liquid spheres, some which you go through, some which you use to boost, and some that you just throw at the level with the gravity powers. I love how the Sega fan service stages are even more absurd. Like, just look at this. If everyone bought the Dreamcast, this is how we'd be living. You heard me say the words coherent and consistent throughout the whole video. Everything in this game just feels very planned to fit together in order to present a very specific vision of the future that you'll hardly find anywhere else. And this is why this game is so special to me. It might not have the sharp gameplay that makes the original writer so replayable, but at least once in your life, you need to experience the well-crafted future of Zero Gravity. You won't be disappointed.